Why do you think the liberals are willing to take us off a fiscal cliff just to tax the rich? Why do you think they're willing to do that?
Well, first of all, I think this is all political posturing. I don't think there really is this looming crisis. I think the government wants to get us to fear this fiscal cliff so that they can save the day at the last minute and take credit for putting politics aside and doing the right thing. At the end of the day, I think they're going to cancel the spending cuts and cancel the tax increases. But if you remember, when we had that budget compromise to raise the debt ceiling, the government promised 10 years of budget cuts. And at the time, I said that that's a bunch of nonsense. You can't trust the government to keep a promise 10 years in the future. In fact, they're going to prove that they can't even keep a promise, 1 year in the same year. All these cuts are going to go away because the problem is everybody in Washington wants to talk about cutting, but nobody actually wants to do it. Nobody wants to deal with the short-term political consequences of telling a voter they're not going to get a check or that they're going to get a smaller check. But unfortunately, because of that, we're going to go over the actual fiscal cliff, which is insolvency, a currency crisis, a bond crisis. And when we hit the real fiscal cliff, it's going to make 2008 look like the walk in a park.
If we hit that point, is there a way out of it?
No. I mean, there's no easy way out. Because when interest rates go up, we have two choices. We can default or we can inflate. Either one is going to be painful. Particularly if the government's defaulting, if you happen to own some of those government bonds, then you're not going to get your money back. But it's not just on the bonds that we're going to have to default on. The government's going to have to default on obligations to make Social Security payments, Medicare payments. It's going to have to dramatically cut government spending because the government is broke. The only reason we can pay today is because interest rates are practically zero. But if we had to pay a true market rate for the money we were borrowing, we couldn't afford it, which means the government couldn't spend. The government is right now borrowing 40 cents for every dollar it spends. If interest rates go up, it can't do that anymore. It has to stop the borrowing. In fact, it can't even pay the interest on the money that it's already borrowed. So that's when we really have our day of reckoning, just like they're having right now in Greece. The same thing is coming for America. Now, people think, well, it's never going to happen here because we can print dollars and, Greece can't print euros, and that's why they're having a problem. We're going to have a bigger problem because we can print. Because printing isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's another way of defaulting. And when our creditors realize that they're not going to get paid in real money, that we are going to inflate because we can't possibly pay legitimately, then we have the same type of crisis because nobody is going to want to buy our debt. The only buyer is going to be the Federal Reserve. They're going to have to print tremendous amounts of money to do it, and then the dollar crashes, and then this whole phony economy comes collapsing down.
Do you personally think we'll hit that point?
We will. Now, the question is, what do we do beyond that point? Right? Do we finally come to terms with the true cause of our problems, that we have too much government, interest rates are too low, that we need to shrink the size of government and allow the economy to function? Or are we just going to try to keep printing money and stimulate at all costs to try to fight against market forces that are trying to bring, the phony economy back down to earth? If we do that, then we destroy the currency. And that's hyperinflation. That means the money is worthless. You can be a millionaire, but you still can't buy a pack of chewing gum. If it gets that bad, that is a complete disaster. But in order to avoid that, we're going to have a lot of short-term pain. The government's going to have to let interest rates rise dramatically and let the chips fall where they may. That means if a big bank fails, they have to let them fail. There can't be any bailouts, right? If housing prices go down, they have to let them go down. And if it means slashing government spending and firing a lot of bureaucrats, they have to do it.